Hey guys, so today's video is about Irina, the 23-year-old Ukrainian girl who was tragically stabbed to death on a light rail in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, the story has been growing in attention over the last maybe 3 or so days, but the mainstream media has basically totally ignored it. I mean, I still don't think the New York Times has given it any attention. And now you'll remember that they wrote hundreds, if not thousands of op-eds on George Floyd. They wrote 100 op-eds on Daniel Penny, but nothing for this poor girl. Now, the story is so big that the media has been more or less forced to comment on it, and their angle of attack is that, well, what happened to this poor girl? It was really sad, but people are exploiting her death to push a MAGA agenda. So that's what we heard from Axios, that's what we heard from Politico, and now on CNN we have Brian Stelter fuming, not about her death, not about the fact that this guy had a criminal record as long as a CVS receipt and was somehow still back out on the streets, but at the racists who are using her death to promote their racist agenda or whatever. So, yeah, let's hear him out.
Most murders in the U.S. never become national news. This one's garnered attention for a couple of reasons. Number one, first and foremost, the recent release of that gruesome video. Second, the energy from pro-Trump activists. They picked up on this video from local news and ran with it. It's a little bit like the times when civil rights groups have raised attention about police-involved shootings. In this case, it is Trump-aligned influencers who are posting up a storm about this case on social media. Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed, and then today Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention, and it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are also legitimate questions about this so-called career criminal, someone who had been a repeat offender. And those questions, I hope they're not lost amid all of the cesspool kind of comments on social media.
Okay, Brian, so why don't you ask some of those questions live on air? I would love to hear your investigative journalism skills at work. I mean, one question I have is, why was this man released over and over and over again to terrorize the community? If you look into the details of the alleged murderer's rap sheet, it's absolutely insane. It reads like a parody of Democrat crime policy, but this is really what they want because they care about the people committing the crimes. They care about their right to commit crimes and to murder indiscriminately more than they care about victims like Irina. And yes, Brian, the racial angle in this case is pertinent for a couple of reasons. First of all, because for many, many years, we've been told that it's Black people that are living in fear, that Black men are these victims of society, of the police, of these expectations that they're going to be violent, and that they're so afraid that they could barely go out in public. And then you get a video like this, and this guy doesn't look very afraid. In fact, he looks like he's asserting himself pretty confidently. And race is also relevant because for years, we've had videos of interracial conflict, some verbal, some physical, and the media is bent on portraying white people as the great evil aggressors and Black people as the beleaguered victims. I mean, remember that video from 2020 of the white lady in Central Park and the Black guy, and she's calling the cops because he's, trying to give her dog treats or something, and that woman's life was ruined. They ruined her life over that video and smeared her as a racist. The Central Park Karen got plenty of attention from outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, etc., despite the fact that, it's a local story, nobody got hurt, it's stupid, it got tons of attention, and yet they refuse to turn their eyes to Arena's murder. Because, as everybody knows, and as it's become incredibly trite to say, if the races were reversed, things would not look like this. But it's important to say nonetheless, I think, because just imagine if a white man had randomly and viciously stabbed a black girl to death on the subway. I mean, cities would burn. I don't think that's an understatement. Now, I think that people are getting more comfortable saying these sorts of things, which are obvious truths that nobody wanted to talk about because it's uncomfortable to talk about race. But Ben Shapiro appeared on Jesse Waters to lay out just that, why the media is not interested in covering this story.
Unfortunately, Jesse, I think it's perfectly obvious why the media deep sixes this particular story. And the answer is perfectly obvious when you look at the races of the people involved. If this had been a black victim and a white perpetrator, then it would have led the news nightly for months on end. You would have had riots in the streets. If it's the reverse situation, the media will completely ignore it because it doesn't match up with their preferred narrative of a white supremacist country that is cracking down on black people, even though statistically speaking, obviously, the vast majority of crime is intra-racial, meaning white on white or black on black. Black on white crime on a per capita basis is significantly higher than white on black crime. That does not match up with the media narrative about white supremacy in the United States.
Do you also feel like they're sensitive to being called racist by their friends, family, and colleagues for highlighting black crime?
There's no question about that. In the echo chamber that the legacy media live in, if you even mention black on white crime, then you are immediately seen as racially discriminatory in some way, because the basic idea on the left is that white against black is really the story of America, as opposed to blacks committing crimes against white people. To even mention that is to undermine the entire narrative of the 1619 Project, for example.
By re-releasing these people out into society after 11, 12, 14 prior arrests, isn't there something about self-preservation? The judges and the DAs alone, why would they do that? Why would they turn these people loose over and over again?
It's ideologically horrific. I have a book called Lions and Scavengers about the mentality that suggests that if somebody is acting badly, they must be a victim. And that is the mentality that undergirds all of this. When you hear the mayor say that you can't incarcerate your way to safety, that is precisely wrong. You absolutely 100% can incarcerate your way to safety. We do not have an under-incarceration problem in America. We have an under-incarceration problem. We need these people locked up for longer periods of time. This particular person should have been involuntarily committed for mental illness. He had violent schizophrenia, or he should have been in prison.
Yep, I don't disagree with any of that. If anything, Ben is being a little bit too generous. At this point, this man, DeCarlos Brown Jr., is accused of committing one of the most heinous crimes that I've ever seen on video. And I think if the allegations are true, he should face the death penalty. North Carolina still has the death penalty. I don't see a reason why, again, if the allegations are true, he should sit in a prison and, eat off the taxpayer dime and enjoy the opportunity to read and get a degree and make ceramics or whatever. And obviously I'm painting a pretty rosy picture of prison, but you get the idea. This guy is not fit for society. He's just not. And that was evident a long time ago, and judges in North Carolina and magistrates refused to acknowledge that fact, or maybe they just didn't care about his potential victims, and now this poor girl's life has been cut short for no reason. So it's a very sad story, but the left-wing media's reactions to the story are predictably stupid. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.